Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, full card betting guide for UFC Macau. Song taking on Figueiredo in the main event. And you know what I'm here to do, break this entire card down from a betting perspective, giving you my thoughts, my feelings, and my analysis on each fight on this card. These are not my official plays, but you know what to do if you're enjoying the content. Hit that like and subscribe button. Without further adu, let's dive right in to the early prelims. All right, early prelim opener here. We've got Jacqueline Amorim taking on Luma Lookboonmee. And it's no secret, if you saw the video, Luma Lookboonmee here, slight underdog, dog of the week, looking to make it 3 in a row, taking all underdog plays here on the channel. I got to go on the Luma Lookboonmee side. You've got striker versus grappler. You've got, Amorim is a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Obviously, gi, no gi, world champion. But the wrestling and the cardio and the striking, to me, leaves a lot to be desired. Luma Lookboonmee, improved grappling, improved wrestling. She can use that defensively to keep this one on the feet, and she can use her Muay Thai base to win this one with the damage, with the striking. I like her for dog of the week. She's got better cardio. She can bounce around on the outside. She's very fast. She's tough to get a hold of. I think if she keeps this one standing, she's a great play here at plus money. I think the fight goes the distance is a very safe play if you want to sprinkle that, in terms of putting it into a 2-leg parlay to get plus money. I think this one does go to the judges' scorecards. I think Amorim has shown tough enough to be able to make it to the judges' scorecards. She's obviously not been finished so far in her 2 losses, both coming via decision losses. But I do think as well that Amorim by decision might be worth a play. She obviously is very sub or very finish or bust at this point in her career. But that doesn't mean that, she can't make it to the judges' scorecards and get enough top control and enough, takedowns to be able to win and get the plus 300 decision prop here for it to cash. I'm going to be taking the Luma Lookboonmee side. That's just personally where I'm at this week, just sprinkling on that money line. Other than that, I'm not going to touch the Amorim by decision. But if you like the Amorim side, I think the defensive wrestling and the defensive grappling here of Luma Lookboonmee is going to be good enough, and for her ability to defend the takedowns for her to stay safe and not get finished here. And on the feet, it's going to be night and day, Luma Lookboonmee. She should be much better in terms of the striking. I think either way we see the judges' scorecards, it's more of a play on the plus money here, more of a value play on Amorim by decision. A lot of people are going to be attacking that sub prop. I don't think she gets it against Luma, but I think that the decision prop is something, if you want to look to play that based on the plus money, based on the value, I wouldn't blame you there. But I like the Luma Lookboonmee side. That's just how I see this one playing out for this early prelim opener. And next up, we've got Kanji Zhu taking on Vera. And I like Vera in this one. I think this one, minus 110, minus 110. I get it. Very similar records, very similar in height, stature, and build. Vera is going to come in and push a heavy wrestling pace. He's going to look to take this fight to the ground. He's got good cardio. He's got good, body lock, trip, takedowns. And I just think that Kanji is a guy that wants to stand and trade in the pocket. And I just don't think that Vera is going to allow him to do that. Vera is a guy that, he will stand and trade with you, but I think it's to set up his wrestling. He's looking to get the level change. He's looking to take you to the ground. I think that that's going to wear on the gas tank of Kanji. I think Kanji, when it comes to his striking, he carries a lot of power, but he's relying on counters. And I think that he's going to be having to defend too many takedowns. I think that's going to get him kind of frozen on the feet. And he's going to rely a lot on being able to find Vera in those one-shot sort of moments. And I think that Vera is just going to be shooting for takedowns, getting takedowns. Kanji's going to have to defend. He's going to have to get back to his feet. He does have good takedown defense, Kanji, but I think he's just going to be constantly, defending takedowns against a guy that's got relentless cardio, relentless wrestling, and also can mix in some striking as well. He's not a slouch on the feet. So I like the over 1.5. I think it goes long in this one. I like the Vera side at almost even money. And I like Vera by decision. I think he can get enough takedowns, enough top control, wear on the gas tank of Kanji enough to be able to win this one out. I do think as well, do your line shopping. That might get a little bit, the money's been kind of coming in slightly on Kanji. So that maybe decision prop might get to plus 200. You might be able to get 2-1 on your money there for Vera by decision. If you like the Kanji side, I would probably say again by decision. I think this one hits the judges' scorecards. Both tough, both very durable. But I like the Vera side. That's how I would look to play it. Probably going to sprinkle purely on the Vera money line here. Not necessarily parlaying it, not top ticket. I think both guys have a lot to prove. Obviously, you've got the road to UFC guys who aren't necessarily UFC level, taking on a UFC debutante in Vera. So a lot to prove, but I like the Vera side this week. And next up, we've got Angela Hill the 41-year-old Angela Hill here, taking on a UFC newcomer who has fought over and won championship in Zhang Shang. Probably butchering that name, but I'm on the Shang side in terms of a pick this week, but I don't love it. I got to be honest. You got to go with the value in Hill here this week. I think it's, dog or pass for me. The over 2.5 should hit. I think this one hits the judges' scorecards as well. I think a lot of the fights later on, we're going to see a lot of stoppages, a lot of finishes. But early on, I think we're going to see a few decisions here. But I would probably sprinkle dog or pass. That's the way I would look to view this one. Purely a play on the money line for Hill. She can play spoiler. She's played spoiler in the past. I'm not going to be touching this one at all. Probably just touch the over in a parlay, in a confident parlay, and that's it. Zhang, she's got great boxing. A lot of women like to come in and look to take her down. She's definitely going to have a speed advantage on the feet as well. I just think Hill's got better kicks, and I think that she's shown an ability to be able to push a heavy pace, have a lot of volume, and have some takedowns, and obviously she's got UFC experience. So I did pick Zhang. However, I would probably, in terms of betting, pick the Hill side just based on that plus money. Personally, I'm going to be staying away from it. It's going to be dog or pass from me, but Hill by decision is 2-1 on your odds. And we've seen Angela Hill pull off upsets in the past, so that's kind of how I would look to play this one. If you like it, that's just my thoughts. That's just my opinions on this particular fight, but I'm not going to be touching it. But if you like it, it's just my thoughts. And next up, we've got Rinya Tatsura taking on a newly replacing Louis Garullo. Tatsura, great wrestler, great grappler. I just think that Garullo here, obviously back-to-back weight cuts, short notice. I just prefer Garullo's striking. I just think that Tatsura, he doesn't really strike at all. He's always just spamming takedowns. Obviously 23 years old, can always improve, but I just think if Garullo keeps this one on the feet, he's going to be the much better striker. He's a harder hitter. He does have a wrestling base, and I think that he can defend the takedowns and obviously have the better striking moments. And I just worry here that 2-1 favorite on a guy that's not looking to do damage, that's looking to just solely shoot takedowns and go for grappling exchanges, has me a little bit worried, especially as a favorite. So I would have to be on the Garullo side here. The short notice has me a little bit worried with back-to-back weight cuts, but Garullo here at plus 360 by decision is probably how I would look to play it. Garullo plus 3.5. If you can get that at plus money, just needing him to win one round, I think that's a great price tag. If that's plus 100, I'd be all over that this week. I wasn't able to get that line. Obviously, this fight's been added on somewhat short notice this week, so tough to get some of the lines for this one. But Garullo plus 3.5, I think that's definitely the play I'll be sprinkling if that's around plus 100 or better. We need him to win one round, and he's a guy that's going to be defending takedowns, and he's going to be the better striker. He's going to be landing the better in terms of the exchanges. And I think we see the judges' scorecards either way. Both guys durable. Joshua Van wasn't able to finish Tatsura earlier on in his career. And I think either way, Garullo is a guy that can defend enough in terms of the grappling exchanges here to stay safe on the ground and not get submitted. So that's how I see this one playing out. Probably will sprinkle the Garullo plus 3.5 if that's minus 110 or plus 100 or better. But personally, the Garullo side has me a little bit worried with the decision prop just based on the fact that it is short notice. And next up, we've got Cody Haddon taking on Arichi Lang. I'm on the Cody Haddon side, but the power of Arichi Lang has me a little bit worried here. Obviously, Cody Haddon, very new to the UFC. I would say he's the better fighter all the way around in this particular matchup here. I just worry about the power and the counter-striking of Arichi Lang. Cody Haddon, in his UFC debut, he showed that there's levels to his game. He's shown that he's tough. He's shown that he can defend takedowns. He's shown that he's willing to mix things up and be a complete mixed martial artist. So I am on the Haddon side. Just don't put him in your top tickets. That's what I would say. At any moment in this fight, he could get countered by Arichi Lang, especially late into the third when he gets a little bit tired from all the volume and all the output. And Arichi Lang's shown that he's got power and can put you out. We saw that against Cody Gibson in his last fight. And I just think that the side I would like to be on here is more of the Haddon side, but just not top ticket. I think this one goes to the judges' scorecards. I do think that Haddon is going to be durable enough to be able to stay safe. I just think that he's going to be able to do enough volume to be able to win over the judges. We've seen in the past with Arichi Lang that he does get taken down. People do control him on the ground and take away some of that sting out of his punches. I think Haddon would be best served to do that here in this matchup. And I think Haddon by decision is how I would look to play this this one. I wish it was a little bit more value in this one in terms of the decision prop, but I think that's because the bookmakers know that's pretty much how this one's going to go. Had him by decision, might be worth a little sprinkle here. I think he gets to the judges' scorecards, wins enough of the first and second round, maybe Arichi Long lands some sort of big bomb in the third, and ultimately wins that round with a knockdown. Haddon stays safe and wins it on the judges' scorecards. But personally, going to be putting Haddon in the sort of second, third tier parlay, not top ticket. That's how I see this one playing out. And next up, we've got Jose Henrique taking on Ming Ding. I'm on the Ming Ding side in this one. I don't necessarily think that Jose Henrique has really shown me a whole lot. I think Ming Ding is a little bit more of a complete fighter, a lot more technical in the stand-up. Obviously, 28 of his 35 victories are coming by way of knockout as well, so a lot of power in the hands, much more experience as well. And I just think that Enrique can be kind of dictated to in fights. You know, you see shorter guys than him backing him up, getting him up against the fence. He's not really fighting like a taller fighter using his long-range weapons. So I think Ming Ding is going to come in here, probably find the knockout. That's how I see this one playing out. I think fight ends inside the distance is safe on either end. Both guys natural finishes. Especially here at this weight class, I think that they're kind of the bottom end of the barrel. I don't trust the durability of either guy. And I think either way, we're seeing a guy get finished in this one. I'm on the Ming Ding side here as a slight favorite. And I think him by knockout is how I would look to play this one. Enrique, he's a guy that has a little bit of tall man defense as well. He sticks his chin up in the air. He doesn't have a ton of head movement. And I think Ming Ding, being the cleaner striker, is going to be able to find the finish in this one. That's how I see this one playing out. Not one I'm going to be playing, you know, with a ton of units. Not one I'm going to be looking to play a whole lot. But that's how I see this one playing out overall. I would avoid this one entirely just purely because both guys have a lot to prove and they're not necessarily UFC level. But that's kind of my thoughts and my opinions on this one. And next up, we've got Felipe Diaz here taking on Lee. And I'm on the Diaz side. The tape that I saw on Lee, he has nice back takes, obviously trains with the Korean Turtle as well. So you'd like to think he's getting some good sparring in there with a very durable, you know, UFC vet. But other than that, he's running into the pocket with his hands down. He's very hittable. Diaz is a very raw talent, you know, but he's very big, very strong, very physical. He's got a lot more experience in terms of fights, 21 professional fights. And obviously, he's come through the Contender Series, so we've seen that he can get it done on a bigger stage. He could definitely snipe Lee coming into the pocket with a nice big right hand. He could definitely out-grapple him using his wrestling. I think he's probably the better, more physical wrestler. I just worry that, you know, when you look at both of these guys, they're both very raw, and we haven't seen enough tape and enough out of Lee where he could come in here, maybe mix in some takedowns and ultimately be the slicker grappler here and ultimately find a finish on the ground. But I'm on the Diaz side. I think he can get this one done. I think the over 2.5 here, I don't really love it. I got to be honest, this is one I'm going to be staying away from entirely. Diaz inside the distance is probably your value play based on what I've seen out of Lee. He just crashes the pocket too recklessly. On the ground, Diaz is very fit, very, you know, sort of muscular, very big, very physically strong. And I think that he can manhandle Lee on the ground. I just worry that Diaz might get a little bit tired from his kind of heavy grappling approach or swinging wild. And I just worry that Lee might take over late, but I'm on the Diaz side here, inside the distance. That's how I would look to play this one. Overall, not going to be touching this one. Just my thoughts, just my opinions on this fight. Again, a lot of very low-level guys, especially on the prelims here. A lot to be desired. It's more the main card here that I like in terms of, you know, really chucking some big units at. But I'm on the Diaz side, inside the distance, based on Lee's lack of defense. And next up, we're getting to the cream of the crop now in this UFC Macau card. And if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button as we break down Alex Perez taking on Suma Daji here. I'm all over the Perez side this week. I think he should be a much bigger favorite. He's fought the who's who in this division. And I know what people are going to say. I think they're going to be suckered into this height and reach advantage that Suma Daji has in most of his fights against a shorter Perez. But Perez has fought taller guys in the past. He's fought better opponents. And Suma Daji's, you know, kind of level up until this point hasn't been the best. You know, he's been fighting guys like Mitch Raposo, split decision. You know, he's been fighting guys previously like Jesus Aguilar, not guys that are necessarily that well-rounded. And Perez is much more well-rounded. He's got a great low calf kick. He can mix in grappling and wrestling. He's got much faster hands. He's the better boxer. As long as Alex Perez doesn't fight on the outside and allow, you know, Suma Daji to kind of dance around on the outside, blasting kicks at range and sniping with counters, I think he'll be able to win this one wherever this fight goes. So give me Perez on the money line here. Second, third tier parlay, not top ticket. We'll get to that in a moment. I like the over 1.5. I think we see see this one go a little bit longer. I think it's going to take Perez a little bit of a moment or two to kind of figure out the range for the long rangey Sumadaji. But ultimately, I could maybe see Perez finding a submission here. He's got great anacondas, great front chokes. We've seen that in the past, and he's only losing to the best of the best. You know, the former champion in Alexandre Pantoja, who's been losing to guys like Tatsuro Taira. There's no shame in that, but he showed the power in his hands and his ability to kind of get inside on guys like Charles Johnson in his last fight. Even in his fight against Asus, in that particular fight, you know, he was making that fight very competitive before he got guillotined. So I like the striking here of Alex Perez to be able to stay safe, to be able to find the chin of Sumadaji in moments. And maybe he gets a knockdown, takes the back and finds a submission here for plus 350. I'm on the Perez side this week. I think a lot of people kind of count this guy out, but he's only losing to the best of the best. And I think Sumadaji up until this point has been fighting lower level guys. So big step up in competition for him. Great fight. Looking forward to this one. But I'm on the Alex Perez side, you know, second or third tier parlay this week. And next up, we've got Carlston Harris here taking this fight on somewhat short notice against Jake Matthews. I'm on the Matthews side. Top ticket. I like him to get it done. I think he's going to be the much better boxer. He's very measured on the feet. I like the way that he kind of picks his shots, looks to kind of slip and rip, go for the counters. Harris gets a little bit wild, and we've seen him get out-wrestled before. Obviously, he's been able to pull off Hail Mary submissions in the past, and I think that's all that Matthews has to worry about here. He just needs to keep this one on the feet, and in scrambles, he needs to not, give up his back or kind of get involved in the ground game too much of Harris. But I think on short notice, I can't really trust Harris at 38 years old, coming off of a respectable layoff, back-to-back knockout losses as well, against guys who don't carry the same power and same athleticism and speed as Jake Matthews. And I think Matthews here is going to be the much cleaner boxer. I expect him to find the knockout here at plus 200. I think that's got great value in it. And I just like to see Matthews kind of just mix in the boxing, be very measured. We've seen it in previous fights, and people are going to point to that Neil Magny loss. But if you go back and actually do your tape study, the referee had stopped that fight early, and Matthews should have been able to get that victory. The adrenaline dump happened, and I think after that, he thought that he'd won the fight. That went down as a loss. I blame the referee for that one. Matthews has been on a big win streak since then, so I like him here to get this one done against a 38-year-old washed fighter coming off of back-to-back knockout losses. I think that plus 200 is a great prop. I think we might be looking at that for the Cycle Parlay. Our first Cycle Parlay video is going to come out tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that one, but the Matthews by knockout, I like that one. I'm on the Matthews side, top ticket as well. I think if he gets this one done inside the distance. And next up, we've got Cameron Smotherman taking on Kai Asakura. I'm on the Asakura side, second, third tier parlay. Do not put him in your top ticket. He still has a lot to prove. Obviously, back-to-back losses in the UFC, getting out-grappled, but he's got a guy that's going to strike with him, and I think that's going to lead to success as well. I think Asakura should be able to get this one done. I'm just a little bit wary of him until he proves it to me. I'm not necessarily on this hype train of Kai Asakura. I think he got too much of a high-level opponent coming into his UFC debut, and he still has a lot to prove. But I think he should be able to find the knockout here. He's much more credentialed on the feet. He's much slicker on the feet. He's much more dynamic than Smotherman. Smotherman can be, kind of trigger shy at times, and I think at times, he can be a little bit chinny. He can get backed up, and I think that he's really going to struggle with the hand speed of Asakura. I could see him timing knees up the middle, and we know that Smotherman's not going to be shooting in for takedowns, so I could see Asakura here getting the knockout. I could see Asakura plus 120 here for the knockout being a great prop. And I think the Asakura money line here would be a great sort of third tier parlay, second tier parlay for him to get this one done. If you want to sprinkle the decision / KO prop just to get those odds down, I don't blame you. But either way, I think that the Asakura side is the only side you can really play here. I think that the UFC knows what they're doing. They're giving a winnable fight to kind of build him up here in the UFC, but I'm on the Asakura side nonetheless. And next up, we got Teixeira here taking on Sergey Pavlovich. And I understand why Pavlovich is a big favorite in this one. I just think that he's going to be the aggressor. He's only really losing to the best of the best in the division. Obviously losing to Alexander Volkov, losing to Tommy Aspinall. And I think realistically that Talison Teixeira has not proven anything here. He's fought obviously much lower level guys. He's losing to or beating guys that he should beat. He's losing to the top level guys. Sergey Pavlovich is a top level 5 ranked guy, top 10 guy in this division. He carries power. He's very measured. He has nice kicks. He's fought much better guys than Teixeira. And I just think in this particular fight, he's going to be the aggressor. He's going to be the one walking forward. But My angle in this particular fight here is obviously Pavlovich top ticket. I like him to get it done. KO or decision. If you want to get the double method to get those odds down. I think the over 1.5 or fight goes the distance is where I'd look to play this one. Teixeira is coming off a decision win. Pavlovich is coming off of back-to-back decision victories where he's usually knocking people out. And I think he's taking a much more measured approach in fights now, being a little bit more reserved with the height and reach that, Teixeira possesses. I think he might, kind of take a minute to kind of get used to that. And I think we could see this one get over 1.5 at plus 140. If you want to be greedy and take the, the fight goes the distance at plus 375, I don't blame you. Both of these guys coming off of back-to-back decision, wins. And I think if you look at it from the perspective of what have you done for me lately, these fights could definitely go longer. You got to remember, Tai Tuivasa is being finished by most of his opponents. Thaleson Teixeira wasn't able to get him out of there. That was his first decision, win. And I could see this fight going longer. I think that there's value to be had. A lot of people are expecting this one to be a barn burner, but how many UFC heavyweight fights do we see go long? That's how I would look to play this one. That's where I think the value is. And I think we're going to see in the co-main event, we're going to see a finish. But I think this one is going to be a sloppy heavyweight fight, a measured approach from Sergey Pavlovich where he puts up more volume, has the bigger moments, but Thaleson Teixeira hangs in there. And I think ultimately we see Pavlovich get his hand raised for his third decision victory. That's how I'm seeing this one playing out. Let me know if you agree in the comments section. But I think a lot of people are going to be spamming the KO and extremely disappointed this week. And that brings us to the co-main event. And if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. I originally was going to make Alonzo Menefield the dog of the week. And I think Zhang's got a lot to prove to me. I just don't necessarily trust him here. And I think if you look at Menefield's pedigree, he's losing to the upper echelon of the division. He's beating the guys that aren't in the rankings or in that 15 or below. Zhang, to me, you look at who he's fought inside the UFC. Ozzy Diaz. Ozzy Diaz isn't UFC level. He beat Anthony Smith on Anthony Smith's deathbed. He came in with absolutely no defense, walked forward against Zhang, and showed absolutely zero defense in that fight. And I think that obviously Menefield, at times he can be gun shy, but he carries a lot of power in his hands. Ming Zhang is a guy that, when he took on Johnny Walker, an upper echelon guy in the division, a top 15 guy, he struggled. He ate a couple of calf kicks, fell to the ground, and ultimately got finished in that fight. And I just think if you struggle to beat Johnny Walker, then to me, I struggle to trust you as almost a 3-1 favorite. Let's not forget. We're talking about a guy that's fought, 3 absolute bums, beat them, and then lost to Johnny Walker. So he has a lot to prove to me here, especially as a 2-1 favorite. So Alonzo Menefield, obviously leaves a lot to be desired, but this is a lot, to be asked here of a 2-1 favorite in Zhang. Menefield at, 2-1 on your odds here. I think plus 500 for the knockout here when Zhang is, kind of finish or bust. He's a guy that gets finished as well. In the 7 losses that he's had, I think 6 have come inside the distance. Menefield plus 500 for a guy that carries the power that Menefield has when he lets his hands go, I think is a ton of value. Menefield on the money line at plus 205 is a great play. And I think the under 2.5 is very, very safe. I don't like taking unders, but I think either way we're seeing a guy get finished. Zhang is a guy that's, kill or be killed. He's either getting finished or he's finishing you. This is a play that I'm going to look to play this week. I think a lot of people are blindly just taking Zhang, kind of counting out Menefield. And when you look at both guys, strength of schedules, resume, you compare the two. I don't see how you can take a 2-1 favorite here. I think Zhang's going to bust a lot of parlays this week. I'm on the Menefield side. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, or if you're tailing or fading this week. And let me know how you think that Menefield KO is going to feel at plus 500 when that ticket cashes, because I'm going to be sprinkling on that plus 500 KO TKO prop for sure. And that brings us to the main event here. Give me Song Yadong here against Davidson Figueiredo. I just don't think this is a good matchup here for Figueiredo. I don't see what he's going to be able to do. He's not going to be able to take Song Yadong down. The wrestling defense and the strength of schedule in terms of who Song Yadong wins and loses to is enough here for me in this division to him to not get taken down from Davidson Figueiredo. And he obviously comes out of Team Alpha Male, a great wrestling gym. I think he sprawls and brawls. I think he keeps it on the feet, and I think his boxing, his pressure, and his power is going to be too much for Davidson Figueiredo. Figueiredo in the fights against Brandon Moreno struggled with the boxing of Moreno. And if he's struggling with the boxing of Moreno, who's not necessarily known for his power, I think he's really going to struggle with the power of Song Yadong. Obviously 28 years old as well, a lot of UFC experience, still getting better, coming off that loss to Sean O'Malley. I think Song Yadong had a good performance in that fight. So the 38-year-old Davidson Figueiredo struggling at the upper echelon of this division. And I think the under 4.5 here, almost even money, is a great play. I think we see a finish here. Obviously, if Davidson Figueiredo snatches up a guillotine or something like that, obviously it kind of covers you for that under 4.5. I'm on the Song Yadong side, however, a top ticket. I like him to get it done, KO or decision. I don't think he's going to look to wrestle or look to find a submission. But Song Yadong by KO, TKO at plus 150. I think that's great. I would look to play the under 4.5 though, just in case Figueiredo pulls something out of his ass for the finish. But I like Song Yadong. I'm on that side of the coin this week. And if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Let me know in the comments section if you agree, disagree with my thoughts, my opinions, my analysis on this great UFC Macau card. Check out some of our other content. We've got the full card breakdown, a difference of opinion from Carlos and I in some of these fights. You know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.